So we've been working together for like 2 months, right? How much were you making in March, and then how much did you make in May?
So in March, I did like 7K. In May, we hit 11.3.
People always think, oh, I need to get on a better offer and want to change everything but themselves. What was the realization for you?
I knew like in watching some of my calls, there were like a lot of spots where it was like if there were just a couple small tweaks, it would have gotten someone over the line. And I was just tired of seeing that pattern there.
You having pulled the trigger and having made the investment and being congruent, how would you say congruency plays a part in the way you show up and how you hold these ladies to a higher standard?
And into investing in yourself has made me feel more congruent at the end of the call, being like, oh, yeah, like I can sit with you in this. Like, yeah, it is a leap of faith. And I can affirm what they're feeling while really staying grounded myself.
Welcome back to the channel here. We got another student interview. I feel like we're pumping these out almost every week at this point. Today we got Erin. Erin, tell the people, who are you? What do you sell?
Hello, my name is Erin Beata. I work in the coaching space, selling a biz op.
Biz op, okay. And high level, like what exactly is the biz op? You don't have to tell the influencer, but what do you help with these prospects do?
Yeah, so we're working with women who are service-based entrepreneurs who are scaling anywhere from 10 to 50K plus months.
Okay. So like business coaching anywhere from entry level to advanced. Now, where were you? So we've been working together for like 2 months, right? How much were you making in March? And then how much did you make in May?
Yeah, so I came in March and I mean like things were going okay, like but I was still just feeling like I wasn't really optimized. So in March I just reached 7K. And it
Hmm.
was the most that I'd made on the offer so far. And
Okay.
yeah, I knew I was leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah, what did you hit in May?
In May we hit 11.3. So
Okay. Nice.
so we're on a good incline, especially just like a couple months in.
Yeah, that's like 4 grand more, right? And I know a lot of the testimonies I talk about are like 10, 20, 30x, and those are great, and we're gonna have one of those too, but this is also huge too, like an additional 50 grand a year is what we're talking about here, right? And another thing that's interesting about your case is people always think, oh, I need to get on a better offer or I need to get on a different offer and want to change everything but themselves. What was the realization for you of, no, I'm on a good offer, but I need to get better? Like, how did that hit you?
Yeah, I knew like in watching some of my calls that there were a lot of things that were like, it's like when it's like a game of inches. And so I saw
Hmm.
that there were like a lot of spots where it was like, if there were just a couple small tweaks, it would have gotten someone over the line. And I was just tired of seeing that pattern there because I could see how those people ended up coming over and committing. It would have made a huge difference in my bottom line.
And what were those patterns that you were seeing?
I mean, the main one that I really saw was like, I mostly sell to women. So it's sometimes it's a logical sell, but like oftentimes it's more of an emotional sell. And I could
Hmm.
see how there were spots where I was not able to really hold their own discomfort of where they were feeling frustrated and upset with what was going on with themselves. And so it was like there were really subtle ways that I was like coddling them instead of actually holding them to like a high standard for themselves.
Yeah, and as someone who's in tune with their emotions, I think that's very common, right? Is like someone comes on and they are giving you emotional answers and an emotional response, and like you want to help them feel better, right? At times, people would even cry on your calls, but then what would happen at the end? The people who are crying and who have the most emotion, like before you learn to start challenging them, what would they do?
Yeah, I mean, they walked away with a free therapy session is what it all felt like. And I
Yeah.
often got that. I used to get that a lot on the calls of like, oh, I feel like this is a therapy session. And I think that like before I was working with you, I used to think that that was like, oh, I'm doing something right.
Hmm.
And I think now I would see like if that came up, I would be like, oh, I have to really make sure that I'm holding them to the standard that they want to be at instead of allowing their excuses to be okay.
Right. Right. I think that's huge. I think, yeah, it turns into a free therapy session. They say things at the end of the call like, "Oh, this was such an eye-opening conversation. You're so good at this." Fucking hate
Yeah.
that. but I still need to
I
think
really
about
need
it.
to sit with this. Yeah, I really need to sit with this. I
Yeah.
just need to digest everything you said. There was so much you gave me that I just need to like sit with this before I make a decision.
So now knowing what you know, how have you been able to take pain and emotion into action and not just free therapy? Like what changed in your process to be able to do that?
I think the thing that I'm continuing to develop into with you is that spot of like creating their own internal urgency. So it's no
Hmm.
longer about like me externally trying to get them to see it or telling them because
Mm.
I see it so clearly. Now it's about how can I ask smarter questions so they're coming to their own conclusions. Because I'm just finding like when I actually am able to do that work with them, like in discovery, there's just like a lot less objections at the end of the call because
Hmm.
they see it themselves. And I
Hmm.
remember, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks into working with you was when it really hit for me because I got to the end of this one call and this woman was like, damn, I can't not move forward now. I was like, oh, I
That's the
did something
best.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best. Pain into action, right? That's been the biggest thing with you. And you don't have to change who you are. You still show up as the same woman on your calls, just a different version of you, right? Now, previously, you were not a very easy sale. We were in the DMs for months, right? Until you finally moved forward. And so I want to talk about that, right? I want to talk about how sometimes the things you tell yourself show on calls, and sometimes the beliefs you have show on calls. So, like, two parts to this question. One is what kinds of objections were you giving yourself for those few months we were going back and forth of not moving forward? How do you think that was affecting the way you showed up on calls?
Well, in the beginning, it was a newer offer for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like got on this new offer, and then I also found you like around the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
so in my mind, I was like, oh, I need to give this a shot first. Like, I need to really make sure that like I'm understanding the depths of the offer itself and like the intricacies before I invest in outside support. Granted, the offer that I'm on also has like a very advanced outside sales support team where I was allowed to come to calls. I was able to have my calls dissected and reviewed. Um, but I just like wasn't really getting a lot out of it. But I felt like, oh, this is here. I need to give this a shot
Mm-hmm.
before investing somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. And it was one of the biggest, like, we don't have to say who, but one of the biggest names in the space, right? What what was your experience in hopping on those calls and asking questions in those big environments with these big names versus now? Like, what would you say is the difference in the attention that you were getting?
Um, I kind of felt like they just didn't know who I was really. And so I was
Hmm.
hopping on calls and like the questions that I was answering, like asking, it's like because they didn't really have any context about me, what type of a closer I am, or anything really about like what I bring.
Hmm.
It just felt like really like linear and like logical of like, oh, you need to look at this training or you need to do this thing. And
Mm.
I felt like it didn't really take me as much into consideration of like being on like these huge group calls where I feel like I had to like fight for attention.
Right.
If anything now, like with what you offer, like I'm like, oh man, like there's so much here that I get to pour um, into the space. And I know that there's like always quality time that I'm going to get with you in the calls.
Totally. And it's intentional, right? We don't have like a million people in there who stay forever. It's not lifetime access, right? Um, okay. And with that said, that was like what was invested for you, and you wanted to give it a shot. Now, the second part to the question was congruency. Like you having pulled the trigger and having made the investment and being congruent, how would you say congruency plays a part in the way you show up and how you hold these ladies to a higher standard?
I hadn't, it had been a minute since I'd really invested in outside support for myself. And so one of the things that I recognize is knowing myself in my own body, what that feeling is like when you're like, damn, I want to do this and it's scary. So it's like having that feeling in my body of what I know it feels like to take the leap into doing something and into investing in yourself has made me feel more congruent at the end of the call of being like, oh yeah, like I can sit with you in this. Like, yeah, it is a leap of faith. And I can affirm what they're feeling while really staying grounded myself.
Yeah, it's so much different from someone giving you an objection and you saying the same, I understand, but I understand from a point of like, I also have given myself that same excuse and I haven't overcome it, right? Versus, no, I've been there and I've overcome it. So I'm proud to see where you've been or where you're going in the last 2 months, which is pretty fast. And I know we're going to be back for the 20K a month interview. Final words here, close to final words. If someone's watching this and maybe they're in a big group program where it's like fucking 50 people or 30 people on, or maybe they haven't invested in themselves at all and they're telling themselves stories as to why they shouldn't, what would you tell that person?
Well, it's interesting. Like, I mean, this is kind of roundabout, but like, I'm a woman and I
Hmm.
sell to women, and I chose a male coach to come in and work with me.
Yeah.
And I did have actually like someone question me on that. Like, why did you choose this? Like, why
Hmm.
did you choose Nick over working with like any of the other female coaches that are out there? Um, and I think like the key for me is it's like the difference between like being in a room where no one knows you, or someone who's got like all the like fancy word tracks online and whatnot, versus actually someone who has like the quality of attention. Because the reality is, whether I'm having like an amazing week and I'm just like killing it, or even the times when I'm like a little bit struggling, like you're able to like really help me with like a clear next step for myself. And so to me, that makes all the difference. Like I feel more understood and seen by you, like of what's possible, but also just like when I am stumbling, like how to get back on track. And so I'd say like that was like the main piece that had me dive in with you versus like going with someone else.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So basically you would tell that person they need to do it, right? If they're on the fence, they need to jump in. Sweet. Any final words before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I'm stoked to see more women coming in and diving in with
Yeah,
you. Um,
totally.
yeah, it's the right spot to be.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you and keep saying this, but we're going to be back for the next one. As always, guys, if you are listening and you're either on an offer and you know that there's money being left on the table, or you're not on an offer, you're not on a good offer, and you need help getting placed on one, you can continue figuring it out on your own, or you can fast track it. First link in the description is going to help you fast track it. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.